Hey everyone that's already here on TikTok, we're going to be going live very, very soon. I'm just setting it up on the other platforms as well. Okay, so I think we are live on YouTube already. Live on TikTok, I can see already. YouTube, I think, is working as well. So I just need to check that it's all looking good to go. And then I'll start answering your questions.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Miss Estrick
You
Biology
can hear
and
me
to this
in the background
enormously
there. Yeah, cool. So I can see I'm already on YouTube. I can see I'm up there on TikTok. I wonder if I can actually move you over a bit so I'll be looking at the same place at the same time. Yeah, that's it. I just need to mute myself there. And press to go live. I think we are ready to go. So what today's session is on is actually going to be like the same as last week. I'm going to be going through questions because there were so many questions last week, and the main feedback I got from people was they found that really helpful. So could they be more like that? So it can be GCSE, it can be A level, it can be A level AQA, it can be OCR. It's just open to questions. That is what today's session is on. I'm just going to try and put my laptop a little bit higher up so that I can see the questions without having to look down the whole time away from TikTok as well. Okay, first question I can already see on YouTube. Do you have to link paragraphs together in the essay? No, you do not. That's a common misunderstanding because of the way they phrase it in the mark scheme, but you do not have to link the paragraphs. Someone said, I've got an exam on the 15th of May. I haven't prepared at all. Are there any shortcuts to this? In terms of shortcuts, it's not that so much as shortcuts, but I'd say making sure that you know all the key terms, focus on the topics you find hardest, and making sure that you're covering the most commonly assessed topics, and make sure you do lots of exam questions as well. What do we need to know for gel electrophoresis? You need to know the process. So you need to know that the stages, which I cover in my YouTube video, but common questions you get are in fact, I've got the common questions in my required practical booklet, what you need to know and the common questions. But off the top of my head, the common question is, why would the DNA separate? It's often a 2-mark question, and they'd be after you saying things like, because DNA is negatively charged and it's different lengths, that's why it moves different distances. Is biodiversity on both papers or just paper 1? I don't know which exam board you are referring to on that one, but if it's AQA, it's just on paper 1 because it's topic 4, biodiversity. How can I get better at those 50-mark comprehension questions? Okay, I have a YouTube video that covers comprehension questions, and it's also one of the pick and mix lessons that I'm doing the night before the exam, and I've in particular picked out comprehensions to go through that link to the topics I've said might come up and some of the hard ones. So if you want free help, I've got a YouTube video on it. If you want directed help with exam questions, going through it together, then sign up to my pick and mix lesson. Just send me a message on Instagram that says PNM or pick, and I'll be able to do it. Let me see. I'm going to look down here now. Do you need to know how biosensors work for OCR A level biology? I don't actually know off the top of my head the OCR specs. I teach AQA, and everything for OCR I have to look it up. So what I'd suggest is look it up in your specification to see. How can I get a B? I'm on a C. So B to C, I'd say make sure that you definitely know key marking points. Making sure that you're doing lots of practice exam questions as well. Keep testing yourself. In particular, maybe application questions also. How do I improve my essay? Do I basically revise all the content? Is it basically just thinking on the spot? I struggle with thinking of what to write in the exam. For the essay, I would suggest doing lots of plans, because then you'll get used to knowing how to come up with relevant topics quickly. And for those relevant topics, what you'd have as your importance of. So doing lots of plans would be key. I am actually doing my free essay webinars next week though. I'm running the same hour-long session on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday evening. So come along to that. To sign up, just send a message on Instagram that says essay and you should get the link directly. Someone says, wait, what is comprehension again? I think I mistook it. So for AQA A-level, at the back of paper 2, there is a comprehension, which normally has about 5 to 6 questions that adds up to 15 marks in total. Right, I've neglected Instagram. I haven't answered any of their questions. Let me see. How would you answer a question about standard deviation? It depends what the question is, but usually they want you to say whether the standard deviations overlap or not. And if they do overlap, that means you do not have a significant difference. If they don't overlap, then you do have a significant difference. So those are normally the things they want you to say. Is there an overlap? And therefore, is it or is it not a significant difference? Should I be doing past papers at this point? I've only done one. I don't think you need to have done actual past, like complete past papers yet at this point. You might have only just started to do those now, and that's absolutely fine. Until this point, you might have been doing questions by topic, questions by skill. That's absolutely fine. If I watch your 6-hour video, will I be ready for my mock tomorrow? I'd first of all recommend you watch it at time 2 speed, so you can watch it in 3 hours instead of 6. Will you be ready for your mock? Well, it's not just about absorbing that information. It's, do you understand it? Do you remember it? And can you do exam questions? So I'd maybe have the video on, but making sure you're testing yourself. Do you know the information? And also doing questions. Is your prediction for the AQA 2025 A-level out? I don't do predictions. I have started to release my videos on YouTube on my data analysis, however, where I share, based on the data analysis, essay titles that I would plan, and also the OCR paper 1 and AQA paper 2 data analysis is out as well. How do I get better at maths questions for AQA A-level? The mark scheme is so vague. I hate the mark scheme. I do love AQA, but the mark scheme for maths questions is not friendly for people that maths doesn't come naturally to, such as me. Because if I haven't got the mark, if I haven't got it right, or I don't understand how to do it, just show me the answer doesn't help at all. So that's why I created, my teacher friend, based on like the instructions, how I wanted it to look, created the math skills workbook for me, because as someone that maths doesn't come naturally to, I have to really work hard to do the maths questions. Then for all of the math skills, it tells you how to do it, why you would do it, modelled examples, practice questions, and the answers. So for someone that, like me and like you, who finds the maths harder, then the math skills workbook on my website will be perfect. Let me see some more. What do you think are the high yield topics for A1, A2? I'm not sure what you mean by A1 and A2, I'm afraid. The humoral response, T-help cells, I think I must have missed the first part of this question. And how much do we need to know about cytokines for AQA? Nothing. Cytokines is not on the spec for AQA. What do you recommend doing when you don't know what to write? Know how to answer a question. I struggle with writing. If you're not sure what to write, I'd look back at the question and think, what topic is it? What key terms do I know linked to that topic? And maybe just bullet point down some of those key terms, see how you can link it to the question, start that question and come back to it later. So you're not getting overwhelmed in the exam and panicking. And that's what I'd suggest trying to do. When do you think we should finish the content before we start just doing exam papers only, and that's A-level? When you say finish the content, do you mean revising or being taught it in schools? I'm going to assume you mean revising, and in which case I wouldn't revise the content and then just do questions at the end. I'd be doing a bit of both the whole way through. Okay, any tips for the evaluation or conclusion questions with the information? Yes. So that is a YouTube video that I've got. Search Miss Estrick critical analysis, and I go through an approach of how to answer it. It's also one of the bootcamp lessons It was on the same day as application, and you can actually buy the recordings. So that was what I did with Olivia. So you can buy the recordings. That is, I think, day 2, application critical analysis. We go through how you answer those questions, and then we do those questions with you as practice. Do you think you can get an A star if you did the AQA biology exams? Oh, what, me? Oh, do you know what? I get asked this every year. What do I think I would get? I normally get asked, do you think I'd get full marks? And I absolutely would not get full marks. I don't think anyone would literally get full marks, because there's always going to be some mistake you might make accidentally or something you didn't quite realise. I'd like to think I'd get an A star, seeing as I've been teaching the AQA exam board for 16 years. So I'm fairly confident I would. I don't know if I would, if I went straight into it tomorrow. I probably would, because I've done so much in terms of videos and updating the notes. But if I was allowed to solidly revise for, let's say, a week, I would get an A star. I don't know if I'd do very well on the maths questions. That's probably where I'd lose all my marks. But I think I'd be fine on the rest of them. Let's see. Right, what do you think is the most effective method of revision for my mocks? I'm absolutely terrified. It depends on what you find the hardest. For mock revision, for all revision, the best thing is a mixture of making sure you understand, remember, and practice. So the understanding would be like watching my YouTube videos, making flashcards, making notes, or testing yourself as you go. Then the remembering is the active recall part, where you need to be maybe testing each other in pairs. I've got an active recall workbook, which is lots of short answer questions and quizzes and tables and fill in the gaps. Or you could be doing blurting, you could use flashcards, but you have to be doing past paper questions. So you get used to the type of question, you get used to the marking points, you start to remember them, and also the timing as well. Someone else said the evaluation question. So that's what we were just talking about, the critical analysis. If you search critical analysis Miss Estrup on YouTube, I've got a video for that on YouTube, but it's also available as a tuition lesson at one of the Easter boot camps. Oh, someone said, what are the high yield topics for both years? I have got YouTube videos coming out on this. So it's the most commonly assessed topics. The OCR paper 1 is out. The paper 2 and paper 3 I've already got filmed and scheduled to come out. For AQA paper 1, that's coming out on the 18th of May. And the paper 3 one is coming out in a couple of weeks. So for all of OCR and AQA, I go through the commonly assessed topics. How do you remember the difference between parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system? That is a good question. I don't know if I don't have a particular trick, but if anyone has, you can put it in the comments. Let's see, because sympathetic speeds it up. So I remember I said this to someone, I was like, think sympathetic speeds, SS. But then they said, yeah, but the parasympathetic slows, and that's an S as well, so they get confused. I was like, oh, well, that's how I've always remembered it. Sympathetic speed. And maybe parasympathetic, I'd be thinking P, plodding along, and that's slowly. I don't know. Try and come up with something that might help you. Let's see. When is the essay webinar? Monday at 8 p.m, Tuesday at 6:15 p.m, and Wednesday at 5:15 p.m. But it's all the same session, so only come to one. And even if you can't come live, if you sign up, you'll be sent the recording. Oh, that's a good one. I've just seen, that's what someone else said to me. Parachute, that slows you down as you jump out of a plane. So think parachute, parasympathetic slows down the firing from the SAN. So think parachute slows you down, parasympathetic. Where is the best place to find content for essays which aren't on the spec? I don't know if you've heard me say this before, but I don't recommend you even bother. Around 15 to 25 people every year get the beyond the spec marks out of, like, we're talking 50,000 people. And the fact that 15 people out of 50,000 get those marks should tell you that it's not a good use of your time revising beyond the spec for the likelihood of you getting it being 0.04%. So you're far better off spending that time doing something else. If you do really want to try for it, I would only do that if you are an A-star student, because you only get those beyond spec points if your whole essay is perfect. Oh, and thank you for all the nice messages I can see coming in on TikTok. People saying thank you for all the videos. I'm so glad they're helping you. You're very welcome. What sort of math skills are the most important for paper 1? It isn't split by paper, so it could be any math skill, with the exception of mitotic index and index of diversity are from topics 1 to 4. So that could be on paper 1. It could also be on paper 3. Serial dilutions could come up as well. But then other than that, it could be any of the stats, and it could be any general math skill question. You can actually also get questions to do with meiosis, where it's, and also with bacteria division, where you're asked, if you start with this number of cells and you have this amount of time or this many cycles, how many cells are there at the end? And that's 2 to the power of n. 2 because a cell splits into 2 every time, and n is the number of divisions or the number of cycles. So that's another one that comes up in paper 1, but also paper 3. What would you answer for why type 1 diabetes can't be treated with diet or weight loss? It's because it's not due to risk factor and environment. It's an autoimmune disease. So it's a genetic autoimmune disease in which your own white blood cells are attacking your beta cells, and therefore you don't produce enough or any insulin. So that's why diet has no impact. Do you have ways to remember the difference between inspiration and expiration? So inspiration is inhaling, so it's going in. Expiration is exiting, it's going out. What do you include? Sorry, this is going to go too fast now. How do you include the importance part in the AQA essay? So you'd start off by doing your process, and then you always say this process is important because, or it might not be a process, it might be a protein, an enzyme, a molecule, whatever the essay happens to be. Okay, let me go back to YouTube. I've not looked at any YouTube questions in a while. What was covered in this live? Oh, I'm just doing a general question and answer for the person who's spamming the comments saying that. It's just general questions and answers. In fact, YouTube, I cannot keep up. How many people are watching this live on YouTube? There's only 55 of you. Oh, it's a few of you are just spamming the comments. Oh, okay. I'm going to go off YouTube. There's too much spam. I can't read. Miss, are 2 weeks enough for until your exams? You've still got time to improve. When you say enough, I don't know like what scope of work you have to do, so I can't really comment. But even if you only had 1 day left, you can still improve in 1 day. How do you answer graph-related questions? There's so many different types of graph-related questions. There's not like a set answer for that. I would say top tips are make sure you are reading the scale and the axes carefully, because if you're having to take data off the graph, misreading the scale or axes is common mistakes that people make. Right, we've got 2 minutes left. I still have content left to revise. Can I still get an A? I can't really comment on what grades people can get because I don't know what you're currently performing at. I don't know what type of work you do, how much work you can do. So I can't say whether I think someone is going to get a particular grade or not. But as I've said to other people, you can still improve if you put the work in between now and whenever your exam is. It's still possible to make improvements. Hardest topics, that is subjective. It depends what you find hardest. Most people find gene technologies hard, and homeostasis, immunology. I say those are probably the big ones that people say, or maybe the nervous system. I'd say those are probably the most common ones that people say they find hard. What is a reducing sugar? So that is a sugar that can reduce copper sulfate basically in Benedict's, but you don't need to know it in that level of detail. It's the monosaccharides and all the disaccharides except sucrose, and they're called reducing because they can reduce the copper sulfate to copper oxide in Benedict's reagent, and that's why it goes from that bright blue to that rusty brick red colour. Would you prioritise answering past paper questions or revising content? I would say both at the same time. doing past paper questions is revising theory, but also while doing exam technique. What causes a person to do bad in an exam but well all year? Various reasons. Maybe you just had a bad day, you were tired, you didn't feel well, you panicked, you didn't understand the questions. Maybe you answered all the questions correctly, but you got 1 out of 3 for all of them. You kept missing points. Maybe you actually thought you were doing well all year, but you were being too generous with your self-marking. So there's a whole range of reasons why that could happen. It doesn't happen often though. So most of you, do not panic. It happens to hardly anyone, that. Succession application questions. How do you do well on them? There's set marks for succession questions that you can always throw in, and then you apply it to the example you've been given. So let's say it's 5 marks. Always a mark for saying pioneer species, always a mark for saying climax community, always a mark for saying biodiversity increases. So that's 3 straight away. Then you get marks sometimes for saying what the pioneer species is. That's a link to that mark. Sometimes they'll also mark for saying what the climax community is. So sometimes that's the application. You get a mark for saying the pioneer species changes the abiotic factors to make them less harsh. And if you've been given a context, and maybe you have to state what those are. And then there's often a mark for saying that the pioneer species get outcompeted by the next species as well. Do you think people generally do better than they thought? I don't know on that, actually. It's not something I've ever analysed, so I can't really give you an answer. Let's see. Should we have finished all content by now? I don't know what you mean by that exactly. If you are in school and you're talking about should you have been taught everything, then most people are probably finished or almost finished. Okay, so we've got to 20 past. That's the end of the Q&A for this week. These do seem to be quite popular at the moment compared to me just picking one topic that I would review. So I'm going to keep doing these for a while. I won't be doing one next Thursday because Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday I'm going live for an hour every single day. So I'm going to take Thursday night off. So those lives are specifically for the AQA A-level biology essay. It's 1 hour lesson, completely free. If you want to come to those, it's the same each night. But if you want to come to them, send me a message on Instagram that says essay and I'll send you the link to sign up for free. So yeah, come along to that if you need help with the essay. Other things that I've mentioned today, if you are interested. So I talked about the practical skills workbook. Just send me a message on Instagram that says practicals. Math skills workbook, just send me a message that says maths. My pick and mix lessons are my tuition, the 1 hour tuition that I'm doing the night before the exams, but also in the build up to the exams. The hardest topics, all of the paper 1 practicals, paper 2 practicals, extended response, essay and comprehension. Just send me a message on Instagram that says pick and I'll send you the link. But that is it for today. Hopefully you found it helpful. I won't see you next Thursday live, but you can still come along to the free essay session, whether you're in year 12 or year 13. I only recommend you coming if it's AQA because it's literally only for the AQA exam board though. So AQA year 12s and year 13s, you are welcome. Come along. If you want to sign up and you haven't already, then just send me a message on Instagram that says essay and I'll send you the link later this evening. But that is it for today. Enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone. And I will see you Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday in the lives.